the first person that planted the seed in you that you can be anyone that you want to be?
Really, my grandmother.
Mm.
My grandmother literally cleaned people's houses and raised people's children until the day she died. But on Sunday morning, my grandmother would get up and go to church, and she was a deaconess of the church. She'd go out in her ensembles, and everybody thought she was so wonderful. She's very, very smart. She was a community leader. She did all of that with so very little. And she and my mother and all of my family basically always made me believe that if I wanted something bad enough and I was willing to work for it, I could be what I wanted to be.
Now, from
And
a
I
parent,
believed it.
makes sense. Now, from a parent's perspective, how did they create an environment in which they could give you enough where you felt like you could be who you wanted to be, but not so much where you felt like you could just be? It's like, how was that environment? Was it was it going heavy positive? And then when you came home with not a good grade, disciplining you? Give me a framework in which parents can kind of raise the next secretary of HUD.
I think that a lot of it is about expectations. If you have low expectations of your children, they will meet them. If you have high expectations, most children will meet them as well. I mean, I was scared to death to bring home a bad grade. I mean, that was not something we did because the expectation was that I was not going to do that. I'll tell you, I received my first C, and I remember it so well. I was in fourth grade. I cried all the way home because I just knew. I cried all the way home. But what it turned out was that my mother basically said, "Did you do your best?" There was no more discussion of it. I didn't get another C for a long time. But I think that you create an environment in which people encourage you. You know that they love you. You know that their expectations are high and that they expect the best. But it was always a combination, Todd. It was always a balance. It was always, yes, this is what we expect here. Discipline was strong in my household. If I didn't go to church, that was it for the week, those kinds of things. But there was always that other side that you knew that they cared enough to make you work harder, that they cared enough to discipline you. And you never really resented it because you knew when you did something wrong, you did something wrong.
Right.
Just how we were raised.
Right.